Welcome to ITTV.
Following's for adults only.
Don't be lonely, won't be alone. Check out the song, check out the phone. Let's play. I'm all alone. Pick up the phone, check out the phone.
Don't be lonely. Talk live to your special lady tonight. International long-distance rates apply as low as 50 cents a minute. Adults only. By L&B Media.
Pick up the phone. Cat got your tongue?
Hi. How are
Hi,
you?
Joe.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Ooh, I like it.
What do you like?
I like your voice. It sounds very sexy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So what are you up to tonight?
Oh, just thinking about you, boy, and your hand all over me. Ooh.
Oh, you want to get right down to it?
Oh, yeah. No time like the present.
Okay. Right now I'm caressing my fingers over your boobies.
Ooh, I like it.
Slow
My
down.
favorite.
They're not even at the nipples yet. Slow down. All right.
Oh, sorry.
They're approaching the nipples. Okay, my fingers are on your nipples. They're going slower down, further down. We're not on a motorboat. Don't do that. And I'm seeing here. Ooh, you shaved for me. Would you like me to bury my face in your vagina?
I would love nothing more than that.
So where would you like me to go next?
I don't know. You're at my boobies, but we're going downtown. I think back downtown.
Yep. I'm downtown.
Perfect.
So what are you
More
gonna,
detail, Joe.
what are you gonna do to me?
That's not how it works.
Oh,
Yeah, I was thinking I didn't have
She's
to do
paying
nothing.
you.
sorry. I thought you would like to do something to me. All right. I'm sorry, you didn't hear that. Why is there still milk coming out of your tits?
God damn it,
Oh,
Joe.
yes, milk my titties.
Oh, okay. I guess if I have to, I will.
Good, work your way down, Joe.
Oh, look at that milk drip down. Oh,
Where's it going? Where's it headed, Joe?
her thighs.
Oh, yeah.
Milky thighs.
Mmm. Dub.
Wait, you getting paid by the minute? Let's go.
Yes, that's why I'm stalling.
I can afford you, Joe. Don't worry.
Are you into toes? And these round minutes, thank you. Would you like me to suck on your toes in the middle of the night without you knowing about it?
Oh, yeah. Suck 'em, baby.
All right, I'm gonna suck him right now. Oh, she came. Okay.
You made me come, so...
Okay, that was
hey.
$49.95. Thank you.
The world is going to hell in a handbasket. Big tech is making it harder for a guy like me to make an honest buck in the video pirating industry. I'm one of the forgotten victims of online censorship. I can no longer put the most recent Hollywood movies online for my own profit without receiving a pesky takedown notice from that big city Susan whatever her name is. I don't know that CERN opened a portal to Uranus and is altering our memories, but just in case, we have a plan. So introducing Irrational Rentals. Find all your favorite movie moments at our exclusive warehouse, far, far away from Susan and all her googly friends. So come and try to take these movies from me, Susan. Rent a VCR and choose from a wide variety of Hollywood hits that are limited to releases produced before the advent of the DVD. Or relax in comfort at our in-store viewing area. So come on down to where we've been Mandela free since 2012 and the terms and service of internet platforms don't apply here. As a sovereign citizen, I'm bound to no man-made law, only the law of nature. And coming soon, Atari games. Irrational Rentals. You'd be crazy not to come here.
Rewind fees supplied.
say, I know who you are, but nowadays no one seems to know, because they canceled my TV show. I guess I had one too many arrests, got caught with those hookers and blow. Now no one will give me a job, and I could really use the dough. I used to eat dinner at all the fancy places, rubbing elbows with the rich and famous. Now I'm standing in line at the Applebee's. I'm waiting for the waitress to get a seat. Anytime I'm going to audition, they just laugh me away. They say maybe if we had some kind of time machine, then maybe you could be in our play. But for now, the answer's no way. I don't know where it all went wrong. Everything was going just fine. I went to bed one night, I was still on top, and in the morning I was past my prime. I'm a superstar that really needs some danger pay. All the superstars who really need some danger pay. I'll always be larger than life in my own head. I'll probably be bigger and even more famous when I'm dead. Woo!
Do something for you. Do you not want to be a fashion? The latest fashion. European fashion. Could this be any more of the fashion? Come to me and I will spray the fashions all over you. Fraulein, you have a little fashion running down your leg. Herr und Fraulein, do you want to be sexy?
This just in! The global officials that can help all, also known as Got You, have now banned all boogieing and boogie-related movements worldwide. Public safety is the main concern, they say, and people are reminded that boogieing is contagious. Anyone caught boogieing will be dealt with in the harshest terms police have reported. More at 11.
Do you enjoy podcasts that discuss important issues, debating topics that have an impact on our way of life, while offering alternative solutions to making productive changes in our world? That's great. But when you get sick of that, get your ass over to the Cousin Joe Show and enjoy some refreshing conversation about fireworks, past drug use, current drug use, and how rock music was perfected in 1994. With every episode comes a 100% guarantee that Joe Coletta will piss in a bottle live on air. So please join notorious bad friend Joe Coletta and handsome cousin Dan for the Cousin Joe Show, Thursdays at 7 p.m. live at YouTube.com/Cousin Joe.
Remember, the secret to perfection is imperfection. We got some catchphrases. times. All rational times, man. Dude, everybody, go subscribe to Irrational. Hold on. Subscribe to Irrational Times. Irrational Times is the best IRL song ever. The calm song. You gotta subscribe to Irrational Times. He is very talented. Subscribe to Irrational Times.
Johnny Boston's living the dream, but sometimes life isn't what it seems, so you don't look back when there's nothing there to see. Hesitates whenever he can, that's the way of a traveling man, heading cross country in an old RV. All night and every day, that's the struggle. The struggle that some of us have to go through. I remember when you were with Carl, looking like Fred Flintstone out at the bar. Those chicks didn't want to be on your stream. All night, out on the street, the party's over but you can't sleep. That's the time there could be a little bit of trouble. All night and every day, that's the struggle. Why does that trouble always seem to find you?
How's she going, boys?
Welcome to the Irrational Times live show. And now, it's your host and the lovely assistant.
Thank you so much, Dixie. Appreciate that. Always nice to be introduced by a bear, one of the good ones.
Always, thank you, Dixie.
Yeah, so welcome to the show, and tonight we have a very special show. We have a guest tonight, a musician, a Canadian musician, and his name is Robbie Rox, and we'll get to him in just a minute. And I'll just kind of ramble on while I kind of make sure everything looks good here. Let's see if I can find him. Beautiful. But I also I figure we should probably maybe play a song of his before we move on, or before we bring him on. Sorry, my apologies. But now I'm having a hard time getting him over to the other side of the screen. How did I do that before? Anyways, this is an unfortunate. Oh, good Lord. Anyways, thanks so much, you guys, all for hanging out. I see so many friendly faces in the chat, and I'm sure you'll enjoy this. Let's see here, what we have lined up here for this evening. And I guess while we are rambling, I guess just want to say good job, lovely assistant, on all the jib jabs this last week or so. You've been doing very well, keeping up the jibbing and the jabbing.
I've been working hard.
Oh, cancel.
I've been making a present.
Oh, a present for whom now? Who would you making a present for, I wonder?
Mr. Stoner.
Oh my goodness, Mr. J.J. Stoner, his name is?
I may have released a bit too early today. It was premature, but yes, Mr. Stoner's getting a present.
Okay. Great. Well, we'll I'm going to play a video here of Mr. Robbie Rox. I think that's probably the best thing, hey? Before I introduce him, 100%
Sure.
play maybe just a bit of his video. Play one of his older videos, I guess. This is the one that got me fascinated with him.
They say in the biz.
As a taste? Just a little taste, that's right. Yeah, let me a sec, I'll bring this up. You have to forgive me for the unprofessionalism, if you could only imagine. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so this is from, 1976. It's called Open Steak Sandwich, and let me check this out here. Let's see if this brings up. Beautiful. Okay. Uh-oh. Here we go. Let's check this out. This is a little bit of Robbie Rox from 1976 on an old Canadian music show, which we'll get into that because there's a lot of Canadiana to unearth here, I think, in the music scene, and we'll give just a taste of what Canada looked like in 1976, which was very interesting to figure out this music show here. Let's see this. And then we go into some smooth jazz. Not bad, eh?
Some tasty.
Okay. Indeed. So with that in mind, let's welcome our next guest here. I believe, I just discovered him myself, so I would have to say, I think he's in Toronto here, and let's just check it out. Robbie, can we hear you? Let's see if this works.
Can you hear me?
It's a miracle.
Wow.
How does this technology work so smoothly? How are we so good at this?
Well, I just started talking now, so you didn't miss anything.
Nice. Well, welcome, Robbie. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to meet you too, both of you.
Yes, welcome.
Yes, and
IT and the lovely assistant.
Oh, that's
I've done my homework.
that's right. Yeah, I heard you were investigating us. That's right, like the FBI.
What I look like without the hat. I just got the house at 18 degrees in here, trying to save. It just goes on all the time. So I wear a hat, stay nice and cool, nice and cozy.
nice.
Well, we are up here in Canada, so it does get a little chilly sometimes.
If you guys were from California or something and doing this, I'd have some fun with you right now about this. I'd say, yeah, we're up here in Canada, and in Canada it's cold outside and inside.
Yeah.
People's furnaces don't work well up here. I mean, we're always cold, just like you thought.
I always like to say that our furnace is like a furnace-aholic. The house is like an oil-aholic. It just drinks it like like booze. But anyways, alas. But we're not here to talk about oil. We're here to talk about the rock and the roll. And you've been doing it a long time. And
Very long.
And you had a band up until recently, I imagine. It seems like.
Well, I still have a band, but we usually do. I only do maybe a couple shows a year now, to get everybody together in one spot. Like you got to draw now. It's not the same as it used to be. But when the pandemic happened in March 15th, then the gigs were canceled. So I still have that band. It's intact. And we could, with one rehearsal, we could be back on it any time as soon as they open things up, if they ever get opened up, soon. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is kind of sad, though, isn't it? I mean, it's been a rough year for. I mean, I know, the last thing you want to do is kind of be woe is me or whatever. But musicians really, no one really talks about the fact that we haven't had anywhere to play in here. I played 2 gigs last year, 1 outdoor concert and 1 Halloween show. I don't know how we got away with that, but. Anyways, yeah, it's we really just had the rug pulled up from under us, like a lot of people in a lot of different industries, for sure, like the restaurants, bars, but we're part of that.
Yep.
For sure. How I found you was just on Twitter, but the first song I found out was, I looked up, just on your YouTube page, and I just clicked on the first song, was from the 70s, and just the whole thing just kind of blew me away. Now, I'm a big fan of Frank Zappa, and in his groups, and that's, as you can imagine, that's kind of, it's a very similar sound with the horns in some ways. Obviously, everyone's different, but that's what kind of got me attracted to it, was that 70s. The drummer specifically really kind of who was the drummer from, I don't mean to be silly, but who was the drummer from that show that the clip we just watched?
That's Brian Art Carter, and we're still good friends today, and we talked the other day on the phone. That's Brian Carter, yeah. And I met him and that band through the paper. I had come back from Quebec. I was living up near the Gaspé in Quebec for a few years, and I decided to come back to Toronto and get serious about something. So back in those days, you put an ad in the paper, man with a van, man with a van to deliver pizza. Or man with a van, singer with equipment looking for band, and these 2 guys met me at the Brian Art Carter, the drummer, and one of the other players met me at the side, like at a corner street, at the corner of 2 country streets, like that's how we I had to pick them up at a corner, and they were both afraid to get in the truck because. I had this huge beard and long hair, and they go, "No, you get in. No, you get in. No, you get in." So we ended up at this farm where I kind of tried out, and we did things and tried to check each other out. So that's how I found Brian Art Carter.
Yeah, quite the drummer. I guess as a bass player, I'm kind of drawn to drummers in a way, just in that regards. But what a great band you had there. And over the years, you've had many different bands, and we can kind of go through the decades bit by bit. But before we get into your own bands, back like in the 70s when you were on Night Music, how did that show run? Like because I never heard of it, and I like to think of myself as an amateur musical historian, Canadian especially. But what was that show all about, and what channel was it on?
It's on TVO, and it still exists. It's an educational channel, and it's a channel that doesn't show commercials. And they had the Rainer Schwartz show. night music. So they would have the, what you saw there. They'd have an hour. You go in and tape whole night. You could, and then they would edit it down into their 1 hour or half hour show. I think it was a half hour show, 2 segments, and then you'd be on the Reiner Schwartz talk show. So I'd be doing what I'm kind of doing right now, but back in the 70s. So he'd be sitting in a soft chair, and you'd be sitting in the other soft chair, and he'd be asking you questions about. So at the time it was a cutting edge kind of a show, because they had all the famous, anybody who was making any noise at all in the city, getting any attention at all, was on that show. And so yeah, and Reiner Schwartz passed away. Rest in peace, Reiner. But yeah, it was that's how I got the show. I think that Alan Wayne Scott or Brian Guy, one of those guys who were managing me at first, they got on the called them and set the show up. So.
Yeah, it's not easy to find clips of that show, but I found a couple, and they had a quite diverse lineup of musicians on there. There were some really theatrical kind of like musical kind of guys, and then rock stuff, and yeah, they were all over the place, and jazz.
Yeah, well, I wrote music like in journeys. Like I got away from doing the two verses and the chorus, and a verse and instrumental and a verse and out or whatever. That 3 minute and 20 minute kind of like 45 single thing we used to do, right?
Yeah.
And I was influenced by the bands in the late 60s, like Pink Floyd and just different bands like that were writing, and I think Paul McCartney's song Uncle Albert, that went on for like 20 minutes. I thought to myself, okay, we can write a different way now. We can write in journeys. We don't have to have choruses, verses following. You just section after section. And I was changing the rhythms and all that on all the songs. And I wrote everything on the acoustic guitar. And I showed the band, and the horns would sit down and write their parts out, and we'd put it together. And we'd come up with all these songs, right?
Paul McCartney, that Ram album is one of my favorites. It's a great album.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have definitely that got us into. Do you know what? I hate to say this, but sometimes I'm more of a fan of Wings than the Beatles.
well, yeah, well, sure. I get
occasionally.
Well, when they split up, they went in different directions, so they experimented differently. So
Yeah.
We all have little preferences and stuff.
Of course, yeah. It always and they change sometimes too, right? We all kind of. I don't know if my tastes change as we get older, of course.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, for sure.
And yeah, you kind of adapted, through the times. I guess so we could, if we need be, I guess we could even play some videos of of some of your clips as we go later on in the show. But so how long did that particular band we watched a clip with? How long did that band stay together? Is that the Big Horn Band, or is that a different band?
Well. The Monster Horn Band's a different band that happened in the 80s. This band, I call it the 70s Horn Band.
Okay.
We started rehearsing it in 75, and it lasted till about 78. So it lasted 3 years, and we had a lot of write-ups, and everything was going great, and then things started to kind of slide. It was, original, it was very different. And back then, it was very much a street gig. It was very much Young Street in Toronto. All the action was live gigs. There's a lot of big bars and pubs, like rock bars in the city with big sound systems. Everybody used to go and watch the bands. There was no large screen TVs. There was no like cell phones and iPhones. Like people were watching bands back then, and that was the big deal, was live.
And you'd go and play for 3 nights in a row, usually, at least, at a place.
Yeah, and towards the end of the horn band thing, I ran into I got a manager, Jim McConnell, and connected up with McConnell and Al Duffy, suggested to me by somebody, and they said, okay, you got to get an album out. You have to get an album. I may as well just do this. So they figured, do you have any? This is the first album, right at the tail end of that first horn band. And Jim McConnell asked me, he said, well, do you have any tapes we can stitch together so we don't have to do studio? So I had already done with my very first band, that's on this first album. I'd already done at Thunder Sound Studio. We were managed by HP and Bell. Was made up of the guys from Lighthouse, the Lighthouse.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember those guys, of course.
Yeah, so Paul Hoffer, Bruce Bell, and Skip Prokop. So they managed me. They brought me into Thunder Sound Studios where Lighthouse used to record. They put together this really good demo, and nothing ever happened with it. They were going to shop it around, so it just sat there for 3 years. And then I was doing with the band you saw on that show, Night Music. We did a live recording at the Midwich Cuckoo in Toronto on Jarvis Street. We did a live 4-track, I think it's 4 or 8 track. And so we took all those tapes. Al Duffy and Jim McConnell figured, let's take all these tapes, see what we can put together and make it into a package so that we have an LP that we can push.
Of course.
And so the first half of Construction Site.
It's the name of the album?
Yeah, the album, the Construction Site. Yeah, the A side is everything we did at Thunder Sound Studios with the first band really early, and we added some horns on spots and remixed it, and added some background vocals and blah blah blah. And that was the first side. And then the B side was all live at the Midwich with the band that you just saw there at that TV show Night Music. And one segues into the other. So it's a very interesting album. And that was our first product. And then that era kind of ended with that band. And then the new wave and punk era came in.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically changed formats in bands.
So do you remember where you'd get records pressed in Toronto back then? Where would I love vinyl myself?
Geez, I know our third album was Quality Records pressed it for us. They had these plants. I'm trying to remember where it was pressed.
Oh, it's no big deal. I guess back then it wasn't as much of a novelty, but now it's like, oh wow.
Well, you know what? See, back then, I mean, if you put out an album back in those days, if you were an artist and you had an album out, you were serious. It wasn't like having a CD out today.
Yeah.
You had an album out, you were serious. Like, you were like, these guys are serious because they're putting it on vinyl. They're in a studio. They have to master it. They have to do a rock and channel. They go into a factory and get these things printed out. And you know, I mean, CFNY was our biggest supporter. Are you aware of CFNY, Toronto?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. CFNY was a big supporter, but at the time, when we put out our first album, they were just a house. They were a house in Brampton, Ontario, right?
Okay.
So you'd go to Brampton you'd go there physically with the LP. You know, the DJ'd be putting out the garbage in the back, you know, like, you know, it was just really down to earth, you know?
Yeah.
And, it was Keith Alshaw, I remember. And he'd be out there and I said, you know, you're walking up the street. Hey, Keith, who wants to know? You know, he's putting the garbage out. I said, hi, Robbie Rox says, we talked to you on the phone. I've got an album. So he took the album and he was reading it and going, wow, great, new material. That's the way it was back then. And he went in and started playing cuts from it.
Now, did you ever hear about any Canadian rumors of payola, like the Dick Clark scandal back in the day? Did you ever hear any of that come across that by when the record companies would pay off the radio stations?
Oh, yeah, but, you know, that's kind of like, yeah, I'm sure that happened. But, I mean, it wasn't like that's what's happening for sure. It was almost like it's a conspiracy theory or something, you know. Somebody's paying somebody off, but I'm sure there's all this favoritism.
There's probably jealous bands making up those theories, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, if you like, I didn't have really any connections, except for from anybody who had any clout, except for the Lighthouse guys who figured they could get us a good deal because they're Lighthouse. You know, those were their words, and then they figured out that no, you know, guess what? We're finding it really hard to get a deal for you guys because you're just way too different. So it was like, you know, going to the Juno Awards one year because they were marching me around with this new demo tape, and I was meeting all the artists, you know, like anybody who was there, Gordon Lightfoot and all those. You're talking to these people.
The Junos for our American listeners are like the Canadian Grammys, basically. Sorry.
Yeah. And so, you know, and I went from that to, you know, to all of a sudden being disappointed in that they couldn't get a major deal because we were just so different. I mean, we were a very, very different band. But then, you know, when that era ended, we got into, I got my brothers, I had a different band. That band broke up, and we got into a different format, like doing, because it was new wave and punk and everything. And
Yeah.
we kind of got into it by accident. And so we put out this Raw record, me chewing a porterhouse steak in the front.
Nice.
And yeah, that's a steak. And
What was the name of that album?
It's Raw. And if you go to RobbieRox.com, you can see all these albums. Can you see that? Okay.
Oh yes. But now, is it named Raw? Because that's not how you like your steaks, is it?
I like them rarish, but it's a raw concept. it's a raw concept.
Gotcha.
And so we pulled together, and that was actually produced by Al Duffy, and Jim McConnell management was there supervising the sessions. And
I know that name, Jim McConnell.
Well, he used to manage Downchild, and I think he put up Flip Flop Fly, and and he's been and Al's been involved in music forever. We put that out in. It was 79 that came out, and we recorded it it had a whole different sound to it, and we recorded it at Phase One Studios, which was a really hot studio at the time.
So in '79, you did like a new wave kind of punk thing?
In '79, I was 28. Yeah, '79 we did. Well, it wasn't punk. We were just, for a lack of a better thing to describe it, to compare it to. People used to say it's like Frank Zappa, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And because I used to get kind of a little rough with the audiences back then, I wouldn't hold back. I mean, I would say stuff to the audience, and we were a rambunctious band, bad language and blah blah blah. But we weren't punk. There's a write up in the paper back in '78 saying "Meet the New Underground." And I was on the front of the Toronto Star, jumping in the air, like doing one of my with that band that you just saw. We were the big talk. Meet the New Underground, and then they had a new wave music is utterly unromantic and bizarre, and this, that, and the other thing. So there was a lot of hype in the city for that kind of thing that was coming out. But no, we weren't punk, and we were never in a category. It just seemed to fit into that better,
Yeah, I feel the same way, or I've kind of felt similar things like that through playing music myself. Was it where you're not really on the same path as like the mainstream a lot of the times, and you're kind of fighting against the current, and it's not always a bad thing. It's inspirational sometimes, the fight.
Yeah. yeah, for sure.
Now, did you play with some interesting bands back then that of notable mention? Like, share any stages of anyone that we might?
When the guys in my band, in the Monster Horn Band, that comes a little later, maybe in the early '80s, those guys were they were playing with Long John Baldry and Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and that was the horn band of the '80s. These guys were playing. They were from Humber. They read really well. They were really good.
Some of your horn players played with Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Yeah. In the Monster Horn Band, in fact, this band right here, this was. We're jumping all over the place chronologically. This is live at the Lula about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And this is Monster Horn Band, and these guys all played with Gino Vanelli and Corey Hart at one point.
Mm-hmm.
The Lighthouse. Some of the Lighthouse band still goes. They're kind of older. Who did we warm up? We weren't a warm-up band. We're supposed to warm up Frank Zappa actually in Buffalo in the
Buffalo.
70s.
Okay.
Yeah, they were supposed to, and then the manager got hold. It was in 1976 or something. The manager got hold of our material, and he figured it was too energetic and similar to Zappa's. They wanted something that would be real contrast to what Frank Zappa was coming out with, so we didn't get the gig, and they gave it.
What a bummer.
We gave it to a completely different band, a different sound.
Well, I understand the mentality, but that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, there's a lot of disappointments. I mean, the band was great, and there's so many disappointments along the way. but there was enough write-ups and stuff to make it like, hey, we lived the dream. Well, we just have to kind of remind ourselves the fact that, they said we're living the dream, even though you're not really living the dream, but you're living the dream because you're taking a shot at it, right? So,
Amen. I agree 100% with that theory. With that, since you mentioned Zappa, I have to ask, a little talk there. What's your favorite Zappa era? I won't even narrow it down to album. You can name a couple albums, but your favorite Zappa era or band?
I didn't actually hear about Zappa until I had started Robbie Rox, to tell you the truth. I had come back from Quebec and all this, and my first management, Brian Guy, who did a lot for me, he still does. Whenever I need something, he brought me over to his place. He was he had a job with Capitol Records or something, and he thought he could do something for me there. But he pulled this out. He goes, "You're kind of like this guy, aren't you?" And he pulls out the album that he pulled out was what's the name of it now? When I'm the slime from your TV set.
From Apostrophe, I believe.
Yeah. And I was listening to Zappa, and I was thinking, oh, thank God somebody else is doing this, kind of like this.
Well, he barely had any mainstream success either, in a way.
Well, he didn't. I mean, he had a lot more. He's from LA for one thing, and he was actually a good businessman, and he had good management.
Yeah.
He had Herb Cohen working for him for a long time, although they broke up. And actually, I sent down a bunch of materials on Herb Cohen in the early 80s. And, just sent it down to him, and he calls me back.
No way.
Yeah, he calls me back, and hi, Robbie, this is Herb Cohen. And I thought, oh, hi, Herb. And he said, so I guess you got my stuff. He goes, yes. I said, well, he says, where can I check out what you're doing and all that? I says, well, I'm doing a show in Toronto at the Alma Combo. Have you heard of the Alma Combo in Toronto? It's a fairly famous place. The Stones played there.
Are you talking to me, or is that what you said to Frank?
No. I'm asking you.
Oh, of course. I've been to the Alma Combo. Yeah.
Oh, the Alma. Okay. So the Alma, we were doing the Alma just after the Stones did it, and different bands like used to come up there and play. What was I going to say? I said, we're doing the Alma Combo. We got a show. I said, I'll leave your name at the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Herb. So, I would imagine you're probably not going to come, right, Herb? And he goes, that's right, I'm not.
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, of course.
I'll leave your name at the door.
He didn't laugh at that? Come on, that's funny.
No, those guys don't have sense of humor, no. And well, maybe he does, but he didn't find that funny. But I said, and I said, a heads up, Herb, they're going to have to stamp the back of your hand with one of those big markers to show that you've come in, right? And you might not be able to wash it off for about a week. So,
and if you leave, you can't get back in.
And that's right. Yeah, that's right, exactly. And don't misbehave, because the bouncers throw everybody down the stairs over there.
Yeah, as Paul points out, Zappa was much more famous in Europe than North America here. It's in many ways.
Well, North America's not Robbie, but I mean, he had a great fan base.
Of course, yeah.
But at one point there, he was losing money, and he just couldn't afford to tour anymore.
Yeah, and I think he would have the same frustrations as a lot of working musicians in some way in the bigger scheme of things, as far as trying to break through the mainstream, because he knew his music was great, but it was never on the radio as much as, say, like musicians that were of a much lesser caliber, let's say.
Yeah, when you get to the end of when you're on the other side and you've gone through years of doing music, you start to realize if you get a hit song, like one hit song that plays all over the world, like the one hit wonders, that basically will give you all the exposure you ever need for the rest of your life. Because you can tour and go to casinos and all that and come back and play that one song. It was like the Canadian artist Dan Hill.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, sometimes when we touch,
great song.
Well, he toured on that song forever. I know the guys who played with me toured with him, and he would play that, and same with Dal Shannon with Runaway.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he toured on it, and he, artists want to write new music, and they want people to hear their new stuff, but everybody wants to hear the old stuff, you know? Like when the Animals go on tour, they don't care about the new stuff. I want to hear House of the Rising Sun 5 more times.
Yeah, that's true.
And so that's the way that's the way that kind of goes. But anyway, you know, I have a following of people that over the years that have certain songs they definitely want to hear, you know, which is kind of neat, you know, and that have the albums and have them and they want to hear specific songs and they want to hear them now.
Yeah,
you know?
and I was listening to your, you know, to your repertoire a little bit, kind of clicking through it, I guess I would say. And I heard you do a few songs, you know, over the years, the same songs with different bands. And I love it. You know, I love hearing the different bands do, like, say, the original band back then, and then even like the one 5 years ago doing the same song. I like hearing that kind of stuff. The different,
yeah,
you know,
just
bands.
different feel to it and everything. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, different. Yeah.
So you were kind of never really kind of in any one scene in Toronto per se. You were kind of just kind of doing your own thing and basically not in a blues scene or jazz scene or a rock scene necessarily. You were just kind of your sound was very broad and diverse.
Well, there were good agents in Toronto one time that covered the mainstream Toronto. So you do the circuit, let's say in Toronto, and once in a while you'd leave town, and you go to Ottawa or something, or you go somewhere, you know, or you go to, like I was go to Halifax, you know, go to Nova Scotia or something and play there, and they'd fly you there and back. It was a whole different ballgame. But you could practically make a living by doing a circuit. So we got booked on the mainstream circuit for a while with that band that you saw there at the Night Music.
Mm-hmm.
That was the last year we were basically together. We hit a high. We were on a spoof show called the Who Knows Awards that was done at the very first City TV, which was basically like a larger house, not the City TV that's there now. This one was a house. It's the original. Peter Goddard, the writer for the Star, put it on, and it was kind of a spoof show. And I won the Who Knows Awards as best rock band. And Downchild was on it. Carol Pope and the Rough Trade was on it. David Wilcox.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, but we were all the different people. We were doing something different, and that's why Peter Goddard picked us for the show. So where was I going with this? Okay, so we were doing a mainstream kind of thing. So when the agent saw that TV show and me in the paper and everything, they put us on the mainstream, and then we went around the circuit once. And with the kind of thing I was doing, you couldn't necessarily go around it again. Like if you're a cover band, you can play the same music every day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life, and no one is going to care because it's just something they know. But when you're doing something really original, like I was doing on Unique, you deliver information, you deliver it, and they get it, and then that's it. That's like it's like you're repeating yourself to go around. So you have to start traveling. You have to start going into different cities. And if you don't have the album working, like the Raw album that we put out, probably got the most reaction from just the cover. I was when at the time when. I was being managed by Jim McConnell. He called me up one day. He was sending them around Canada, and I got a couple of calls from out west, Calgary and Vancouver. These DJs out there were all excited, going, "Wow, holy cow! Can we talk to you about this? Wow, whoa, look at the cover and the songs, and wow, when are you coming out here?" You know, was always the question.
Mm-hmm.
When are you guys going to play here? And it's like, well, first of all, we need the airplay from you guys.
So we can go and play to more than 5 people.
So there's a packed audience before we even get in the joint.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Toronto, you just built your audience by playing off the street, bang in the rock bars.
Yeah.
They'd hear about it. You get the write-ups and all that. But I said, well, play the hell out of the record, and there'll probably be demand to go, right? So that's the thing about the mainstream. You're only in the mainstream so long until you're out of the mainstream. It's like, it's not working. We're losing. We're losing. There's too many spare empty tables at this gig.
Yeah, and styles change over years, and so many things. There's so many things to adjust to constantly.
But then we went into more of the one-night things, like when Gary Top started the Horseshoe and Gary Cormier, and they had the Horseshoe in Toronto, the famous Horseshoe.
Mm-hmm. Very famous.
I was doing. They had punk and new wave and different artists there, and I used to do kind of some mainstay there. and I had my
Nice.
mainstay places. So you had to pack it. If I played a place, I had to pack it, which means I couldn't play all the time. So upstairs at the Elmo was one of our places, and the Horseshoe. And also there was Larry's Hideaway on Carlton, which was another big kind of concert room.
Okay, I've
Like
never
these
been in
pla-
there.
Yeah, yeah. It was called Headspace for a while too.
Okay.
And they all had big rooms, big sound stages, sound man, built-in sound man.
Yeah.
As opposed to in this day and age, like bands play in pubs and stuff, and you crowd in a corner and you bring your own stuff and you move the tables and everything. It's like, you guys can play in the corner under the TV, but we have to wait till the Leaf game to be over, you know?
Yeah, exactly, right? That is a pain in the ass.
You know what I mean? The Leaf game may be over, you know, and you're arguing. You'd have to argue with the owners.
I like the time when they still had smoking in bars and you had to play something that the smokers liked, playing the machines. You had to make sure you kept them happy.
Well, yeah. Well, gee, I mean, you do gigs back then in the summertime. There was no air conditioning and everybody's smoking, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd come off a gig back then, and you're in the summertime in a humid time of year, hot. I mean, you come out of those places just stinking of smoke and everything. You know, you caked. You know, you come home and you have to discard your clothes immediately and hop and shower. Like you drag smoke and nicotine right in the house or wherever you were staying. So back in those days, you know, there were no TVs. There was smoking in the bars. And there was no cell phones or smartphones or anything.
God bless it. Can we do you have a time machine, Robbie? Do you have a time machine we could take?
Actually, speaking of time, I just want to just jump, because we're jumping all over the place. This is an external drive. Of course, you know that. Now,
sure.
This is the time capsule project that I'm working on right now. This is the Monster Horn Band live at the Alma Combo in 1984.
Okay.
And it was recorded in a mobile studio, 16 tracks, I believe.
Beautiful.
Outside of Doug McClement and Comfort Sound.
Probably on tape, reel to reel there.
Yeah, and he called me up about 8 years ago and said, "Look, I got all He says, "I got all this stuff." It was all analog. He says, "I've got all these master tapes for artists here, and I can't hold on to them anymore. I don't have any room for them." So he says, "If you get a TIAC machine, I will transfer this stuff for you off a TIAC. You have to rent a TIAC, and I'll put it all on a drive for you onto an external drive, like a FireWire drive, and I'll do a rough mix for you onto a CD so you can hear what's on it." So I reconnected with an old producer friend of mine, good friend too, Al Duffy, and I saw him around Christmas last year. I said, "Hey, you know what? I've got a drive of stuff that it's unmixed tracks. It was never mixed. It was just recorded, and it sat around for 30 years. So I said, "You want to take a crack at it? It's all on a hard drive. I don't even remember what's on it." I said, I gave it to him. He took it home, and it's amazing. It's a Monster Horn Band with all those guys from the Long John Baldry and Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and all the guys, all these great players. It's such a fantastic. So it's just being mixed now. We're working on it.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful.
And it's going to come out soon, but it's going to come out in a different format. We're trying to figure out the format it's going to come out, because people don't buy CDs anymore. So it's going to be like, accompanied maybe with video and animation and stuff, because these songs are storytelling. So that's what I'm working on now. So that's our little time capsule, because I pulled this thing out for years. And the guy, Doug McClement, who transferred it over from analog to digital, he had to restore the tapes by basically baking them. He had put them through a bake process, which is basically you stick it on a hairdryer. It's like a hairdryer. So you have to bake it to restore it. So he's trying to restore these tapes that have been sitting around for 30 years.
He didn't have them in a cool, dark place?
Pardon me?
He didn't store them in a cool, dark place?
Oh, he did.
Just a little joke.
He did, because he's a professional. But through time, they lose.
Of course.
So they got to ensure that they're restored properly. That's what he did, and then we spent a whole day transferring. So that's my time capsule project with Al Duffy that I'm doing right now, and stay tuned. It will be out.
Nice. Well, hopefully we will. I have some questions here from the chat. Basically, asking one question people are asking is what kind of horn bands, or what got you kind of into horns, basically into the horn sound? What groups that you can think of when you were younger?
Well, I always liked horns. I like all different music. I like classical. I like progressive. I mean,
You mean Lawrence Welk when you say Lawrence Welk?
No.
No, he likes horns.
Oh, horns. Sorry, I thought you said Lawrence. Sorry.
I said, why do I like Lawrence Welk? No, I'm only fooling. Okay, so, yeah, I don't dislike Lawrence Welk.
Neither do I. I used to watch a show about 15 years ago for fun once in a while, to be honest. The Bubbles. I like the Bubbles.
The horn bands, Tower Power and all that, and all those bands, and anything that was orchestrated, I really, really liked. But how I got the first horn band actually is when Brian Art Carter, there was a first band, and then the band broke up, and then he called me back in '75, and he said, "I've got a horn band down here, and we need a singer, and we're looking for singers, and you've got this voice that has different octaves." So I said, "Okay, I'll come and check it out." So those guys were doing like Tower Power stuff and everything and blah, 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 blah.
And Tower Power is a famous horn section that played back with Huey Lewis and everyone and their brother and mother.
So my wheels started to turn. I said, well, okay. I said, I don't know what you want me to sing with this, but why don't we go have a beer? And I've got a bunch of stuff, I wrote, Robbie Rox stuff. And I've already had a first band. I said, maybe we can do a bit of both. So next thing you know, we're learning a whole whack of Robbie Rox material, and these guys just happen to be the horns. But to get horn players like that, they usually all come from Humber College in Toronto, like the Humber College locations, right? That's basically where you find your horn players. They got some of the best players coming out of. Well, now they come out of anywhere.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys actually, a lot of the guys who play with me came from Halifax. They all. Really? Yeah, heavy duty scene in Halifax with coming out of the schools over there. But a lot of them moved to Toronto to go to Humber.
Yeah, and what's the school in Montreal that a lot of one of the guys that used to play in my band went to this school in Montreal, and I should know the name, but I can't, oh my god, it slips me. There's a famous school in Montreal. Anyways, it'll come to me after the show, I'm sure. But yeah, it's the horn players. Usually, if you find like piano players or bass or guitar players, they're not usually necessarily trained in that kind of regards, but horn players usually are.
Well, horn players, unless they're just guys who want to blow all night. There's guys like that who pick up, they've got talent, and they don't read.
Some of the best guys.
Yeah, for sure. But they can't play in a horn section because they're not disciplined to play they can't read. But you'll find that most horn players, in a situation where you've got like a 4-piece horn section. I've had 6-piece horn sections and stuff that is arranged for 6-piece horns. They've got to read, and they got to read well and quickly. I mean, they just go snap, 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 snap. When I started playing with the Monster Horn Band in the early 80s, everybody read in that band. And they were all like in the A band at Humber. They were like, so you'd ask one guy, is there a good guitar player at Humber that would be good for this? Oh yeah, the best guy in Humber, we'll get him out. And the best this and the best that. And so you had these almost like child prodigy guys, I mean, they weren't child. I was in my early 30s at the time, and these guys were like 25, 26. So
yeah,
they weren't kids,
but
they weren't really working yet.
They still had the drive.
Well, they had the drive, and they had the chops, and they had the talent. In fact, a lot of the horn parts are written for younger men, because when I did my Monster Horn Band reunion and recorded this live, this is a really good sounding thing. This is the Monster Horn Band live at the Lula 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. A lot of those same horn players are the same guys who were playing with me 35 years ago. And when we were rehearsing, their chops get tired and everything. And some of the guys were complaining, going, you know what? These charts were written for young men,
I love that.
Because there's so much muscle and strength in their chops here that they need to, they're doing all these fancy lines. So it was arranged by a young man and has to be played by younger men. And the older guys can play it, but they're just hanging on.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're exhausted, you know, and we're all laughing, thinking, oh my God, you know. But
So there's another question here from the chat. Did you ever come across a keyboardist named Michael Fonfara?
Mike Fonfara and I were really good friends. In fact,
Wow.
he's on Mike Fonfara. Mike Fonfara is on this Earl Owns the World CD all the way through. He plays keyboards on here.
There you go. Wow.
And I've been doing kind of percussion and background vocals for other artists. And every Saturday I was doing this pub gig for like 27 years, a matinee with Mike Fonfara.
Oh,
And,
nice.
you know, he passed away, of course, right?
Oh, I did. See, I didn't know that. That was a question from the chat of just randomly.
He passed away like about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Oh.
My goodness.
Oh, is
Yeah,
that's probably why they're asking the question. Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and he played with Lou Reed and Downstates with Rhinoceros.
Oh, yes, of course.
Band
Yes.
Rhinoceros. And in fact, last night we were on a Zoom. We had a Zoom memorial for him with guys from the old Rhinoceros band and Downchild guys, and just there's about 25 of us on a Zoom with 20 guys on there. So yeah, Fonfara passed away. He was suffering with cancer, but he was fabulous to play with. And yeah, he's on the Big Screw on the once the head's blown off. I'll mail you one. Just give me an address and I'll just send one to you. Yeah.
Sure thing, we'll do.
Yeah, you know, in fact, that you asked about him, I think you should have one of those.
Yeah, the Downchild Blues Band, and that's amazing that he got to play with the. I don't know. It's nice. I don't know. It's sad when people pass like that, but it's kind of the way it's been going lately. It feels like a lot of people have been going quickly these days.
Yeah, he was 74. He had a good run, but
Yep.
you know, yeah, it's sad that he's not here anymore for sure.
So
But
you
should sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say. So you said you've made it down to Nova Scotia a few times. In the
Oh yeah.
past, yeah.
Well, in 1988, we played for 2 weeks at the bar Cheers.
Played Cheers
in Halifax, and we played there with with a small version of the Monster Horn Band. So we played for 2 weeks, and
wow,
and we stayed at the Carlton Hotel, and it was a grinding gig, but it was a great gig. I mean, I love the East, and I love Easterners. I mean, they're just great, and you spend 2 weeks out east and you want to live there. You know, there's just no way about it, 2 ways about it. But it was a good 2 weeks. Kind of grueling every night, 5 sets. You know, 5 sets like from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning, and yeah, so yeah, we did the Halifax game.
That sounds beautiful to me, though, because back when I started playing, it was just at the end of the time when bands would play for more than like one-nighters, and we just caught the tail end of those days in the early 90s. And yeah, to me that seems really cool to be hanging at a place for more than a night or two.
Well, Halifax was a major Eastern musical hub. I mean, they used to fly the bands there. They'd fly the whole band. I mean, they'd send you tickets and fly out there and treat you great. We stayed in the Carlton Hotel.
Yeah.
And you bump into so many other people out there. Like Dutch Mason was playing that week, so I would meet him and we'd have a drink before his gig.
Dutchy was I met him before he died. Him and I met Rick Jeffries. I played with Rick Jeffries for a while and played with his son for a short time. Played piano for him, but yeah, Dutchy was was a funny guy. We played at a concert once where he was at, and with a guy named Mark Green, and he met these 2 girls, and he felt the need to take them back and show Dutchy, to basically christen them or something like that. We went back, and Dutch Mason was buck naked in his hotel room answering the door. Like, it was quite the evening.
I actually know the story. I've heard there's so many stories like that with Dutch Mason. Right? So many stories, man. It's oh man.
And him drinking the bar, like owing the bar money after he plays for 3 nights, and they pay him $4,000 and he owes them 2 or something.
That's the standard story
for Dutchy.
And I got to know Dutch fairly well. He used to come out to some of my gigs. He used to really like it because I used to get, pissed off at the audience and everything. And he used to play at Albert's Hall in Toronto quite a bit. So people would be lined. Back in those days, bars were packed, and they were packed like a lot of the days of the week. So I saw his name on Albert's Hall there at Hotel Brunswick, and I said, Dutch Mason. I said, I'm gonna go in. So I'm lined up on the stairs, and I'm looking through this glass. There's this glass area. You look through the glass while you're up on the stairs, and you can see the band. And they haven't let you in yet because there's too many people in there.
Sure.
And Dutch is on stage, and he goes, "Let Robbie in."
He can see you too.
He's pointing at me. Let him in. Let Robbie, bald guy. Let that bald guy in. And and I'd come in. I'd go in. Gee, I'd see him in between sets. He'd sit down with me, and I go, "Thanks, Dutch. Thanks, man."
Yeah, what a presence. He had quite the presence, hey? The first time I met him, it was at a hotel dining room. It was dark, and him and Rick Jeffries were dressed like mobsters. And Mark took me in and just introduced me. I was 21 or something. I was like a little kid, scrawny little kid. Well, I'm still scrawny, but whatever. But they were very generous, though. Very nice guys.
Yeah.
Well, right on. We're coming near the end of the show here. And before we go, I just wanted to say thanks for coming on and chatting. But on the way out, I want to play something of yours. But I haven't decided. I figured I'd ask you, what should I play on the way out that might be on your YouTube channel that might be easily accessible?
If you're on the night music,
mm-hmm.
are you any? What do you have there? Like, are you on my YouTube channel?
I'm on your YouTube channel basically right now. What do we play it with?
It's construction site there.
Let's find out.
Search construction site.
Okay, we can do that. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on. It was so nice to.
I haven't been to my channel. I don't go to my channel all the time, so I kind of forget what's on it. But there's.
Well, there we go. That's the we can play the full version of that song. That's from 1976 there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no problem. We can take it out with that. But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Maybe we'll have you back on sometime to have some kind of like music trivia or something silly like that. We do all kinds of stuff on this channel that's goofy. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I've been looking at some of your stuff there because I wanted to familiarize myself with it. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
You got to check in, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into here. You never know what kind of.
Well, I'm not really worried.
Yeah. Well, look, thanks again, Robbie, and for coming over. Appreciate that so much.
Thanks, and nice meeting you both, and
nice meeting you.
And everybody out there in Webland.
In the interweb world. Okay, well, take care, Robbie, and we'll be in touch, I'm sure.
Okay.
Bye now.
Bye. Thank you.
There we go, everyone. That was Robbie Rox, and look at that. We're hitting right before the. Let's see, right before 11 o'clock. We're right on schedule.
Aww.
Mr. Goldman will be very happy.
So happy.
Whoa, my goodness, Victor. I have the headphones on very loud, so it's shocking.
Victor_Von_Shroom donated $5. Thanks a lot. You rock. Great show, IT. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Victor. Appreciate that so much. Yeah, and I hope that went well. I can't wait to kind of watch a little bit of this back just to see how all the flow went. It felt great. Robbie's very nice. That was awesome. Thanks again, Robbie, for coming on. Appreciate that. But let's see. On the way out, we'll play the full version of Robbie Rox from 1976. Construction site here. Let's see if... here it is here. Okay. Beautiful. So on that note, we'll see everyone over... maybe we'll see over at Nightwave. I don't know what you're all doing. I don't make people do anything, but but go on over to Nightwave. And
Usher them on.
Yes, exactly. So look, thanks again, guys, and we will. Oh wait, now I got to. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Okay, we'll see you later. See you Monday. Monday. And apologies that you guys understand. I couldn't really interact with the chat as much. It's very. kind of hard to keep up with the chat and talk to.
You're very mannerly.
Well, I just had to, keep chatting with Robbie anyways and keep it rolling. Okay. Well, take care, guys. See you later there. We'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend and appreciate y'all for hanging out. And thanks again to Robbie. And here he is with Construction Site from 1976.
Is there construction in your mind? Do you think we'll finish it on time? I'd like to know. I'd like to know. I'd like to know. Hey, how slow? The wire cutters to me. Here are the wire cutters. What do you think of me? Stick it up your ass, I don't want it. What do you think of me? I don't really know, Joe. You better drink of me. You go home, you go home. You gotta walk. You go home, you go home. You gotta walk. Roberto and Joe, can you account for the fact that you're so slow? I've been good to you, you've been good to me. Cause I'm so tired, I'm so tired, I'm so tired.
Last may I explain all the situation that has been. All the tools have been placed on my rectum.
Well, take them out, shove them all back in. Cause I'm so tired, I'm so tired, I'm so tired.
Ooh, I know,